Yeah, one even earlier than that.
All right.
Okay,
Did we have a opportunity to look over those July 9th?
Yes.
That
I
he
move,
said.
I move approval of the minutes of the county commission meeting on July 9th, 2018.
what about January 8th?
We don't, I don't have those in front of me.
I guess we got them on the email, so we can go ahead and approve them.
Yeah.
And January 8th,
Ja-
and what you got?
and then October 29th.
And October 29th, 2018.
Second.
October 29th.
All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh.
July 9th. This one.
Which are
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, so are the other ones. This one. This one's you,
13th.
oh, there's the
and so is that one.
so is this one. I knocked the sticker off.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
That's January 8th.
That's the canvas
Knocked
from
off a tab, so.
Did we knocked them all off? Here's this one.
And have these way screwed up, John.
We'll get them worked out. I know where to find you.
Well, they're trying to keep them in order too, but I didn't do a very good job.
Well, there's another. That's the tab you lost.
And then we go like that.
9, 3, 5, 7. Yep, you got it. And then. Yeah, that one had a closed session.
So we go like that, and here's this one. What the hell's it?
And then that's just right.
Nice.
Yeah, you did.
That's all the same bundle then.
Now, there's that one, and then that one's the canvas from June.
We'll keep these in better order.
And I'll just catch up with you in a minute. That way you keep moving, Mike.
Okay. Let's start out with departmental reports this morning. Start with Maria and Tourism.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
Thanks.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, madam.
All right, so just so that you attached are the reports of our budget. We're at 77% spent, as of 10/31, and we're at 60% of the restaurant tax. To date, restaurant tax is up 11%. However, TRT is about the same as last year. Occupancy continues to go down. Right now, Cedar City is reporting our total year occupancy is 5.9% to date. We have signed an agreement with STR Helper to help us identify short-term rentals in Iron County. We'll have a staff person who will track down, who will match what they find with the actual tax reports. And then if we find if somebody isn't actually reporting their tax, they'll be sent a letter, with explaining that they do need to collect tax, and then go from there. the assessor's office will have access to that reporting. And then Cedar City and Bryan Head are also contributing towards the software, so that they'll have access to the reporting so that they can pursue on their side. Whether it's a business license or whatever. The one thing we will want to make sure, there are short-term rentals in the county. We'd want to make sure that they are getting their business license.
Yeah.
So I think what I'd do is just turn it over to you if we didn't have a business license on record.
We will take care of that.
Okay.
How are the hotels hurting then?
Yes. So, some of it is because we added another hotel, and then the Levitts actually added a kind of an Airbnb property that has a lot of units in it, and it's definitely taking some business. They're doing well. So there's things happening.
Mm.
You'll also see I've attached our caseload data. We've had more phone calls at the visitor center than we've actually had, and we've had less walk-ins. Just kind of quickly going along, just lots of things happening. We're doing a Christmas promotion right now because this is one of our lowest occupancy months of the year. We have a Christmas map coming out, plus a digital campaign. We'll award our new website on December 1st, and hopefully it'll be completed early 2019. Our travel trade contractor, she's been very busy. She just got back from a trade show with the National Tour Association. To date, she's met with over 150 different tour companies from all over the world. She did a sales mission to Canada and Germany. Right now, she's reported that she's been able to acquire a tour series from China that is coming into Iron County. It's resulted in 17 tour buses staying overnight, which is equaling 608 room nights.
That digital campaign is really cool. I really like that ad. It's Shakespeare themed and clever.
It's a Shakespeare theme. So he's quite cute. So we like him. I was supposed to attach the recommendations from the restaurant tax board, and I didn't. So Dan was nice enough to print me off a copy. So we'll have you share it. The board basically recommended up to it's a little over 500,000 if I remember correctly, in miscellaneous projects. You can see what they are on that sheet of paper. There was some funds that were left over, and they would like that money to be put into the fund balance to go towards a future larger project, whether it's like it can be a convention center. I mean, it could be something that we're aiming towards in the future. Due to the large request on the TRT budget, which includes a new staff person, the website, the TRT board has decided not to allocate funds for special events until we have all the total revenues in for the year. So they're waiting till January. There has been a letter that's been sent out to everyone that's received funding in the past, just saying that they need to be aware that there may or may not be money available in 2019. Any questions about tourism? And then I wanted to show Parowan doesn't get a lot of love sometimes, but the Parowan Gap petroglyph's got a very nice write-up in the Utah Life magazine.
Cool. So the 13,000 for county seat, will that be determined by TRT in January also?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so if the booths can wait till then, it does need to go through that board to make sure, particularly because we're not giving out a lot of money this year, and the big budget requests. So they are meeting in December. So
We make 4 quarterly payments, so our half of it will take care of the first half. So hopefully that'll go through.
Have you seen that before?
So that's a new magazine. It's been out a year. It's really,
By subscription, it says.
but it's a nice magazine.
Good article. I'd like to read it when we get a minute.
Okay, I will leave that with you so that you can read it. Any other questions about tourism?
Pretty cool. I don't think so.
Okay, let's do rec.
Thank you.
Anybody that didn't ask for money on this that we know of?
That is great.
So all of those are, these are the people who've requested.
Is there anyone else in the county that didn't ask for money?
Really, no.
No.
Yeah.
I think the word got out. That's what I'm going to tell you. So, so outdoor recreation, we're at 71% of budget. The restaurant tax recommended that to give $25,000 towards the new toilet up at Woods Ranch. The total cost is $50,000, so hopefully that's in the that should be in the 2019 budget for parks. I do not know what I'm going to do with the old building. It may just be locked up for a year while we figure out what to do with it. As far as events are concerned, we did host that Utah mountain bike race out at Three Peaks in October. It was very well attended. The only issues, they had rain, so they actually kind of shortened some of the races. Other than that, they had a great time, and they've actually requested to come back again in 2019. So it's a good event for us. BLM made us aware that they're in the permitting process for a new event, possibly in May or it's actually May or August. It's a Works motocross event. It has about 200 participants. That doesn't include the spectators. Should be a good event. Looking forward to seeing what it's all about.
Is that motorized or pedal?
Yeah, it's motorized. So we will need the VIPs to be involved because we require on any motorized event that they have a pretty good plan.
And we also
plan.
require them to indemnify us. Yeah.
Yes. So today we've had over 117 pavilion reservations, which has netted us $7,984 in income, basically about a 20% increase over last year. We're definitely seeing a lot of use. They're definitely being used on the weekends. We've had more use at Three Peaks than I've seen in the past 4 years. So it's good. People are going out there and they're enjoying it. We've shut down the water systems at both Three Peaks and Woods Ranch. The patent process for Three Peaks is in process. We're still waiting to hear back from the BLM as to whether or not we still have to lease and then patent, or if we can go straight to patent. Mike Worthington's working on that. And then just kind of a reminder, we have that issue with the man that's been filling up his water tank on a pretty regular basis out at Three Peaks. The Water Conservancy District we can't pursue him legally because there's no ordinance. There's nothing against people filling up their tanks, filling their water tanks in a public place. And so I wondered if we could pursue something so that we can cite him if necessary. It is a problem because that water system is shared with all the homeowners out there. And so when somebody's taking that amount of water, it's kind of it's an issue. So
I spoke with Mike after the last meeting, so he's starting to work on that.
Okay, wonderful. Other than that, things have been good. You'll see I attached I think it's black and white. I apologize for that. But the water, we've had flooding out at Three Peaks. It's taken out the road several times because of the flooding. We put in that concrete basin. They're working on it actually this week. They started on it last week. And hopefully that will make it so all we have to do is just clear the debris. And the road will still be there. So, but we'll see.
At one spot, it's very sandy upstream from that, and it just washes right down.
Just washes down, and we can see that it's damaging even into the BLM area where they've put in that new parking lot for those races and events. So I don't know if there's any way we can help them with that, but in the 2019 year, that would be very much appreciated, just so that we can host those big events.
Low water crossings usually work very well. So, and this one isn't really deep, so I don't think, I think it'll take care of it.
We're
good.
hoping. Any questions about Parks and Rec?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time on Saturday with the, we had the annual Storybook Cavalcade Parade. The commission is responsible for the old lady in the shoe float. Takes 4 people to operate that bad boy because there's 0 visibility for the driver. They did, it seemed like, fix it. Last year we were almost gassed out from the blue smoke coming out of the engine that you're in the compartment with. It might have had a tune-up this year, I'm not sure, but Maria was one of the drivers. It takes 4 of us. Maria did a fine job navigating inside the.
You have 1 driver and 4 spotters.
Yeah, pretty much. It helped a lot this year. I threw a fit because last year they put clowns in front of us. I don't like clowns, but the clowns actually were throwing candy and it was going under the shoe, and little kids were like,
Oh, geez.
with 0 visibility. So this year was much more pleasant. We ixnayed the clowns. Maria was a fantastic navigator. It worked out well.
Still gassy though.
Yeah, a little scary. You need I've got a gas mask for next year for you.
Gas mask.
Yeah, I had my turn at that years ago. My turn.
One and only.
Period.
I think Paul's going to be the new guy next year.
There you go.
Good.
New guy.
Sheriff, corrections, y'all are up.
I'll let you have the light today. This will be it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sheriff.
We'll breeze through this fast.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll start off with the budget status. I haven't got any percentages, but I know we're operating within our allocated budget. Our patrol vehicles, hopefully we've been promised they will be finally delivered sometime in December. We'll see if they're the right color and all that fun stuff. Workloads and caseloads. Right now, the detectives are.
Before you go on those trucks, 18 or 19?
They were 19s.
They far enough back to be 18s?
They were 19s, all of them, the ones we ordered. So.
You got them on the new year, after September then, or whenever the new ones came out, there'll be 19 trucks?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, they
more.
did. I didn't have the option to get 18s. They didn't have any on the fleet side that were
Well, you're
available.
probably better off anyway, aren't you?
Yeah. So, yeah, very good. Right now, the detectives are very busy. They're seeing actually an increase in more of the physical abuse, child abuse cases coming in. Where in the past we've seen some sexual abuse cases come in that are predominantly but taking up their time. But now they're, in talking with Detective Mitchell, they're seeing kind of an increase of the physical abuse type cases where they're being physically abused at home, and that's a trend we haven't seen. So hopefully that's short-lived, and this is just a ripple in their caseload. So far this year, we pulled about, as of today, about 3,300 case numbers for the year, which is about where we were at last year. So we're holding no increase or real decrease. We're holding about steady. And one thing we this year we're seeing is currently we have 15 outstanding extraditions, out-of-state extraditions pending, and that's a lot for our. That's way above average. We have one that our furthest away is in Pennsylvania that we've got to go get. So again, those are. We have to send a minimum of 2 deputies every time we go on an extradition, and so they are they're time consuming, but we do get reimbursed through CCJJ partially for our efforts on those. So, again, we're 15 out-of-state extraditions is notable. And you've got how many in-state? 2 in-state. So, yeah, our reach is far and wide. Staffing levels, this is where we'll go into detail. As always, there's a lot of movement. Deputy Almont has now finished his 14 weeks field training and out on his own. He's happy about that. And then on the 25th of October, we had Deputy Massimo and Deputy Zach Wood graduated from Post Academy. As you'll note, Deputy Zach Wood is now a former deputy. Right in the middle of his field training, he left us to go to work for Mesquite Police Department. And I have visited with our auditor over an issue with that we can address in private that may be where we can talk about the cost of training involved in that. And then so we had two deputies apply that were already certified, and so that brings a total right now of 3 deputies in field training. And that those deputies are Devin Kaikowski from Parowan PD, and Deputy Michael Ferguson, and then Deputy Massimo No. They started their field training on October 29th, and that's the beginning of 14-week field training. So right now, with Deputy Wood leaving us, we are down 1 position in patrol, and we've already extended a conditional job offer and to the next person on the roster, and they will start the academy in January of 2019 if they pass back the investigation.
Does Deputy Zach Wood have any obligation toward us on the signature for 2 years of?
Yeah, we can talk about that in private if you'd like. As far as my discussion,
taking care of it.
Yeah.
Good enough.
I've been, like I talked to Dan, and we've got a plan.
Okay.
So
For me.
They sign an agreement, don't they? So
he started with the jail, so he come in before that agreement was in place. So, but like I say, I'll talk to you about it.
we should have a good case, yeah.
Yeah. And where was I at? Oh, Deputy Tom Bird has been promoted to the rank of corporal, and he is assigned in investigations, right? The investigations division as a detective corporal. And then Deputy Jason Thomas has been reassigned from the courts over to investigations division to fill a vacancy when Corporal Houchin transferred out of investigations back to patrol. So, I mean, it's kind of convoluted, but it all makes sense to me. Stop me if you have any questions. And then, again, we have 3 deputies from the sheriff's office that are still on their deployment, 400-day missions with the National Guard overseas. And again, we wish them the best and hope for their safe return, and they have a good holiday season while serving our country. I'll pass up a couple of things here. Our task force has been very busy. They've filed numerous felony cases this year. They're working their tails off. They're doing a good job. Again, I can't say enough about our VIPs and search and rescue, those volunteer divisions that support us on a day-to-day basis. Couldn't do it without them. They're so appreciated, the efforts and the energy they put into our department. And again, at the totaling it up, we had 12 ropes rescues down in Canara this year. Our animal shelter, we have at times been full in the last little while, and that's no fault of Carrie, who runs it. Sometimes we get backed up on, I'll tell you, the dogs that are hardest to get rid of to rescues or to be adopted out are the pit bulls. And we get backed up on them, and they are tough to get rid of. They eventually go, but it's more of a process to get them adopted out to rescues or friendly homes. So But again, I can't say enough about Carrie and how hard she works to make sure that those dogs are adopted out properly, and how well she runs our facility out there. She does a fantastic job. We just recently did an improvement out to the shelter where we replaced our evaporative cooler. I talked to you about that one of our past meetings, where the hard water out there, that water out there is probably the hardest I've ever seen, and it can just trash a evaporative cooler in no time. So this time we added in a water conditioning system, hopefully that will help mitigate that and be a little easier on the evaporative cooler. So, and that all was within our budget. We had enough budget money in that line item to cover that. And another thing on animal control that I just need to bring up, and maybe we can consider. This will probably be something that the new sheriff Ken will have to. He'll inherit this problem, but what we're seeing is certain livestock people who are running livestock in the county. Their livestock are getting out on a regular basis. Their fences are in poor shape, and their livestock are getting out onto the roads, getting into subdivisions, getting into neighborhoods, and our deputies spend a lot of time trying to get those rounded up, get them back into fields, pushed back to where they should be. And we've examined this, and there's really nothing, because what we're seeing is repeat offenders. People that are they don't take care, like say they don't maintain their fences, they don't really, I'd say they don't, sometimes I don't think they care, because they know that we're going to go out there and we're going to push them back in and where they should be. But we got to looking, and there's really not a county ordinance that, there's not a state law that covers it, but there's not a county ordinance that allows us to, possibly after so many times issue a citation to somebody that's continually letting their livestock out. It's dangerous. They get out on the roads at night, and they can, these are horses, cattle, sheep, goats that could cause an accident. And again, the deputies spend a lot of time moving livestock around. And I don't know if that's just something to consider down the road as you as commissioners, the Board of Commissioners, to consider an ordinance that covers that to maybe help mitigate that problem. So,
Let's get it done.
any feedback on that? How do you feel about that?
There was an incident, I think, in Cache County where a guy was negligent with his fence and caused an accident. So it's a scary thing. I own livestock, and even sometimes with your best efforts, but I realize there's some people.
Well, and that's once in a while. It's understandable.
Yeah.
A gate can be left open, a fence, car can go through a fence you don't know about.
No, that
some of
happens a
them
lot.
are, in getting feedback from my patrol sergeants that some of them, the repeat offenders, are once a week. They're dealing with, their livestock getting out. And
Isn't there an animal at large?
yeah, we looked at it, and it really doesn't cover. I mean, it's not. Again, it may need some, updating, and so it, like I say, we're not out to make it hard on the livestockmen. We appreciate what they do and the service they provide us. Without a farmer, we're all hungry and no clothes.
Yeah.
They still need to be responsible.
Right, and that's it. My thing is to make sure that the motoring public is safe. They're not out there in the middle of the night on some of these roads.
This ordinance and the one for Three Peaks both.
It's just something to look at and consider, because it is becoming more and more of a problem. And we do counsel these people but it doesn't seem to. It seems like we're right back out.
Mike, can we do that next meeting?
I'll talk with Mike, get it
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt
underway.
to research it real quick and see if there's a way to modify or add a new county ordinance that covers that. Because there's really not a state law that covers it. Only on dogs, at large dogs. So, other than that, I think that's it for the patrol side. So, any questions?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Let's see. We are operating at 79% of our budget, which I think is doing okay. We did have one recent unexpected expense, which was a transformer, which you're aware of.
What did you do with the old one, Joanne?
Oh, I'm not. Do you know what they did with it? Did they take it?
For scrap. First, it was quite a process. We had to take it and go drain about several hundred gallons of oil out of it.
But it wasn't contaminated, so you could have burned it in your furnace.
But it ended up over to Robinson Recycling.
Okay. And as of today, our current meal cost is 94 cents a meal, which is really good. Our numbers are down right now, which is unusual. As of today, we had 124 total inmates, 10 which are state, 13 that are federal. I know last time you'd asked on the female population. We had 15 in Estorm, so that's low 2, and 6 in our max unit that are female. So
And
we're
you'll
doing
talk
really
about
good for bedding.
construction sometime in your report.
What's that?
Talking about construction
Yes.
on the new
Yes, I will.
dorm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's kind of unusual. The holidays we start to get a little bit higher number sometimes, just. But that's where we are today. The federals are a little bit low. We're working on getting a few more. We're working on some stuff with them that's going to help some more revenue as well. So that's kind of in the works. Vacancies, as of today, we have 3. Which we have really good applicants, some being correction certified, so that's good. We're just in the middle of doing the process of the background check on those. And then Taylor Dunn has been hired, and he'll start the academy in January. And then depending on who on the application process needs to go through, that will be the time they go to the academy, is in January. Corporal Hansen is still on military leave, as the sheriff spoke of. We've had a couple on FMLA, which is, you know, the overtime coverage for them has gone up a little bit as well. And those are 2 things recently on that. But I do feel pretty confident of this last roster. We should finally get to where we are fully staffed. So that's a good thing. For me? No, I didn't. I feel really good about this, so it's going to happen. This has been a goal, so I'm good with it. Mort Crew, we're back going, so that's exciting to get him out and help get some of those county projects taken care of. Jail remodel, right now everything, they're waiting on the installation of the bathroom stuff, like toilets, showers. They're doing a block wall they still have to do in the shower, and the bunks are on order. So once that's all complete, we should be pretty much up and ready for those numbers if they increase. So it's good to have that done.
What do you
Mike and
expect?
Higgins, pardon me?
What do you expect completion?
I know Mike had talked about in December with the holidays. Yeah, it's gone pretty quick for construction being kind of hard to find, but he's done really well, him and Higgins, to get it going. So, yep.
He has a knack for getting people.
Oh yeah, and really good at watching the money and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna definitely give them credit for that.
Bunks, you got bunk money too?
Yeah, they're already on order.
Yeah, it's, I just talked to Mike this morning. There's, it's an 8,000-pound delivery when all the bunks get here.
Well, that'll be a relief to have some space.
Movement room, yep.
Yep.
For sure. What else? Let's see. Clayton Smith and Tanner Edwards just graduated from Post, so that was good. Robert Stammet is done and back working. He'll go back and graduate next month. He's our new officer from Washington State with 11 years of experience, so he'll be a good one to get going. He did have to go through the academy, so he didn't qualify for the bonus just to get certified here in Utah. It's harder to get those 2 certifications to transfer over. That's it. I talked about the new hires, so we'll get those pushed along, hopefully get them going. There's the jail revenue kind of spelled out for you. I know last time we spoke, you'd asked me about the jail reimbursement, why it was 0. That is paid on December 15th, usually is the time frame. I did get a printout at one of our last meetings, which was kind of neat to see, and they have Iron County for $458,641, so that's what's to be expected. So that's paid every December. Yeah. Yeah. So it does say
23
0,
cents
but
23 cents medical for inmate payments.
yep. Breaking that in.
And
It's
they-
hard to get.
So how much of
Sometimes
their
it's hard to get that money
prescriptions
back.
do they have to pay? I know it's $7.24 per prescriptions. That's just a portion, isn't it? We just charge some of them for it, but
I
all.
can't give the exacts on that. Do you know? I'm not familiar enough about
most
it.
of the medical we have to pay, unfortunately, but I know
Uh-huh.
it's that $724 reimbursement per prescription, so that's good. But
Yeah, they do give that break. I'm not sure the details. I can find out for sure for next time. Anyways, that's a pretty good amount you can see for the revenue. We do really good with the federals as well. That's about all I have, unless you have questions for me.
No, thank you. We
Come down and walk through your project sometime.
Yeah,
Month when you
yep, for sure. We invite anybody to come by and look at it. It's
Yeah.
gone really well, so. Okay, that was
as
our
well,
last budget report together, Sheriff and I.
man, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thanks.
just it goes without saying, but thanks, Mark, for all the years. It's I'll be sad to see you go.
You've served well. We appreciate it very much. Good luck in your retirement. You probably not retire completely, but your change of
On to the next adventure.
Still take care of that.
Yeah.
what's that? Sid? So how many years, Sheriff?
What county?
Yeah, well, yeah, break it down for law enforcement and then sheriff, your time as sheriff.
Started in the county, with the county in 1993, and then went in as sheriff in 2003.
Excellent.
A while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Goes by very fast.
Curtis, Council on Aging, come on down.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, good morning. Just a report that the senior centers are doing great. The attendance continues to improve. I just got a little outline there. I'll try to not, kind of hit the highlights of it, and so you don't take so much of your time, but maybe some of the statistics for last month, just kind of a typical month. We have 16 employees. We've been very stable about our employees. I think in almost the last 2 years, I've only replaced one or two, but right now we're replacing an assistant cook and and then also a data input specialist. Both of those are moving, and so we're in the process of doing that. We have 74 volunteers. Last month they performed 507 hours of service. Take it by the state of Utah, what they value that volunteer would come up to be 12,000 and over 600, and so that seems a little high to me, but if you cut that in half, that's still very significant volunteer value. And then we also, for our reports and our funding and things like that, we have to keep track of our interaction service with the seniors. We had like 432 phone visits, 424 one-on-one visits. outreach visits, 443, and transportation units, 784. We served 864 meals at the center, and then delivered 1,687 home delivered meals. And also then we do health and disease prevention, promotion, and presentations, and we had 457 units of those. Our budget is stable, looking good on our October 31st report. It should be at 83%, but we're at 78%, so we're 5% below budget.
What's the average cost of meals now?
What's that?
What's the average cost per meal?
Average cost per meal is around $8. So they reimburse us $5.25, and then we collect $3 from them.
And did Five County finally change that?
I'm still working on it, but I've talked to them, but I guess they have to get the other counties involved with it, and also it's my understanding it's tied in with the contract, which was in July through June, and so I'm still, each time I see them, talk to them about it, see if they could.
I'll take that up again.
What's that?
I'll take that up again.
Okay, we'll keep working on it. All right, sounds great. Then just some of the let you know some of the activities. I think I reported this during our budget hearing, but I'll just kind of hit the highlights. And that was that a new thing we've started last 3 months is a dance night. And I mentioned before that we thought if we had like 20, 25 people attend to that, that'd be a real success. But that first one, we had 112 people attend. They had to park down the block. The next month, we had like 75 people attend, and then over 98% of those attending were seniors over 60. And in November, we had 90 people attend. So this has really been a blockbuster. People are calling all the time. It's been really the talk of the. In fact, we've had calls from Ely and St. George wanting to know about it. And so the word's definitely got out on that. I can't figure that out, but they sure have a lot of fun. It's funny. Also, since the last time we visited, we've been working on and I just mentioned we were going to do, but we've got this completed, a military veterans board in the dining room of the Sanders. We've completed the Cedar one. The Parowan one is in the progress. It has a section for walls. What we've done it's to honor the veterans with honorable releases, POWs, MIAs, and for all the veterans in Iron County. It has a display of a big American flag with various military emblems, including Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. And then we tell the people if they will bring their picture, and we have them frame them, a 5x7 frame, then we'll hang their picture on the wall. And we've had so much success with that. Now we have to create more space. We've had a lot more participation than what we anticipated. Sergeant Toblin of the 222nd made a comment. He says, I'm very anxious to see what and how this will turn out. He says, I've traveled throughout Utah, and I've never seen or heard of a senior center dedicated military memorial wall to give honor to our veterans. And so they're really excited. We're going to have a dedication for this with the veterans and the 222nd, as well as local authorities and county and city and so forth. And so we're looking forward to that. Also, to go along with this, a local Boy Scout for his Eagle project went out and collected donations to install a flagpole and base in front of the Cedar Center. And he completed that a few weeks ago, so we have a flag with a flagpole in front. It looks really good. It's lit up 24/7. It's been there were lots of wonderful comments, and people have enjoyed that. Just some of the other highlights since we've talked last time. The Cedar Center is continuing. I mentioned that before, filling up in the afternoons and evenings. I think last time I reported we had 15 new classes. Since then, we're still adding more. We've added a new beginner's Tai Chi class. That's a exercise class with over 20 people attending. The other exercise classes are doing well and growing. We have a local group called Weight Loss and Code for Caregivers. This is a group teaming, exercise group teaming up with the 5-county, and so that's a new one we've had. Also, Tracy Heavy Runner with the 5-county is in the last 2 or 3 months we have a Walk with Ease class. What they do, the seniors meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Then they take them for a walk. In the wintertime, they'll go down to they'll meet at the center, and then they'll go down to the university indoor track and do that. Let's see, also, we've added a second pool table. This was purchased by the pool table players, and that's been a success. They have 2 pool table tournaments with about 15 people participating with that. We've also added a shuffleboard that was donated by the Elks Lodge, and a new knitting class, and a cookie exchange class. That's been a big thing. We've had like 75 people attend that one. Anyway, so it's still going. Our goal is to have the seniors and others donate the funds and the time to create these improvements. And so as people approach us, rather than we put out the funds, we're having them make it happen, and that's worked out really well. We do have road or field trips during from April through October. And this past year, we took them to Fillmore, to the Old Capitol Arts Festival. Had a lot of fun there. And then also to Bryce Canyon, Milford Train Station, Beaver, and 2 trips to Mesquite. And so those are really popular. We get seniors from all over the county. The idea there is just to get them out and do things, take them for lunch, and then we bring them back and so forth. I'm really excited about the attention. The Parowan Center is doing real well. We've I have a new craft class and crocheting class that started a few months ago, and it's growing and with more attendance. Kathy Jennings from Paraguna spearheaded that, doing a wonderful job with that. So it's taken us a little while to get some momentum going for Parowan, but it's getting there. We also have a quilt guild that's going to start there in January. And in October, we had a heat program representative come, and they were very impressed how many people from Parowan came and participated in that. The heat program is a government subsidized program to help them with their utility bills, is what that is. And then also the pharmacy came and provided flu shots. And so we're doing a lot of decorating and doing lots of fun things there at Parowan. And I think last time I mentioned to you that we were going to create an administrative office in Cedar for the employees. Before, they'd been meeting in the basement and all over and didn't really have a place, and we got that completed. And that's been a wonderful thing, a real morale booster and a good improvement for us. And also our vehicles, we have 9 vehicles now. We turned back 4 vehicles that we weren't using, and so we can probably find a home for
Back
them
to who,
someday.
Chris?
What's that?
Turn them back to whom?
They're going to be on the
the
surplus
county.
sale.
I think the last time I seen them, they're still parked back
Yeah.
here until we can sell them off or do something. So anyway. And then the buildings are, buildings are in good repair and maintained. Our major plan for this next year is to remodel 2 of the bathrooms at the Cedar Center. And so anyway, that's what we have so far.
You have to put that off before
Yeah.
for the kitchen or something?
Yeah, we miscalculated on the funding for it, the
Oh.
budget, and so we put it off another year and bought us a car for Parowan. So
Awesome.
out of it. Anything else?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Leaves us with Chad in the extension office.
We're under budget so far. So on the family and consumer side, Kathy's got an intergenerational poverty grant from the mayor and the housing authority. It was $150,000. They got $67,000 for after school, middle school programs. And so the kids that are identified by Department of Workforce Services and the Iron County School District as intergenerational poverty youth, they have programs after school where they learn about 4-H and all kinds of things. They also received 3 new grants from the Department of Workforce Services for North, Fiddlers, and East Elementary. They got 6 staff and SUU volunteers serving approximately 60 youth. So the grants total $109,000, and at least 50% of those youth got to qualify for free or reduced school lunch. The food sense side, we hired a new person, and she's training kids in 5 elementary schools each week. She's also at the women's shelter, at the Paiute tribe, and at the 4-H middle school. And they're working with Family Dollar stores to help them label better choices at their stores. So they'll have a thumbs up sign telling the people what's nutritionally better for you. On the water conservation side, they've been doing water checks. They go out to people's yards and evaluate their sprinkler systems. We have a really good Master Gardener program. They did receive $10,000 to hire an intern. And so if you buy a new smart controller for your sprinkling system, the state will rebate half the money it costs. And then this intern goes out and evaluates your whole sprinkler system to make sure it's operating correctly and efficiently.
What is the approximate cost of the smart controller? Do you know?
I bought one that was $230, and I got $115 back. And it accesses the weather stations, and it sets your sprinklers automatically. And if it rains, it shuts them off.
I had about the same experience. I love it too. I
Yeah.
can control it with my phone.
Yeah, I can do the same. I can turn it on and off. There was a neat thing that happened with the Master Gardener program. One of the ladies that's been in it forever, she passed away, and she set up an endowment fund with some of her money to fund the Master Gardener program in Iron County. We have the big water fair. All the 4th graders in the county come and learn about water. And they have a couple demonstration gardens. They got one at North Elementary the kids work in, and the one south at the tourism office demonstrating waterized plants. 4-H, we had all Farm Field Day had 696 youth and 81 adults. That's all the 3rd graders in the whole county came. Our 4-H Teen Council, those are youth in grades 7 to 12. The membership has increased from 20 to 32 youth. They have completed more than 100 hours of business and planning meetings during the year as a group, and performed more than 90 hours of mentoring service. So they help the younger kids in 4-H, and they also go to ambassador meetings, winter retreat, region retreat, teen leadership training, teens reaching youth training, state contest, junior youth conference, leader meet, and state ambassador. So the Clover Buds, which are the kids too young to be in 4-H, they've increased from 7 to 18 members, and they meet once a month and do projects. Our embryology program, we were in 50 classrooms this year. We affected 1,250 youth hatching chicks. The robotics program has 31 youth and 7 adults, and they've participated in local, regional, and statewide competitions. And they got to complete 20 hours of service. Our shooting sports club has 14 youth. Our beekeeper club has 5 youth. Our open house, we had over 200 community members attend. Livestock show, we set a record, the biggest ever. We sold $580,000 worth of livestock.
Wow.
When I came here 21 years ago, we sold 82,000. So we got hundreds of kids raising livestock in the county.
That's more than their parents make
Yeah,
on livestock.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we got all kinds of kids involved in projects, 34 in leadership development, 27 in outdoor engagement, 15 youth in aerospace, 2 in archery, 48 in arts and crafts, 6 youth in mountain biking, 20 in food preparation, 20 in sewing, 9 youth in gardening, and we have 28 kids in the horse program.
So Chad, are some of these kids in multiple events?
Some are, but
Well,
yeah,
So those numbers aren't individually.
yeah. Some are. Very few do multiple
That's a
things,
lot of
but
kids.
there is some. On the ag and natural resources side, we started that big study on how to improve irrigation. We got plots out at Brand Hunter's farm, different irrigation systems. We also put down biochar, which might solve our forest problem. We can take all the dead trees and the burnt trees and the junk trees and make them into biochar, which improves the water holding capacity of the soils. We installed 21 soil moisture meters to help farmers irrigate this irrigation season, and we've seen good improvement when we put the meters in.
So Chad, before you leave the lease or the LEAP, so do you have any conclusions on that yet?
We're getting there. The mobile drip system where the pivot pulls the drip, it produced, we irrigated 50% less by accident. It was supposed to be 20, but the system didn't put out what it did, and it almost produced as much hay
Wow.
as the regular system with 50% less water. So, and the biochar seemed to make a difference in those plots too.
You just spread that is it powdered or?
Yeah, it's just like charcoal, and we spread it on. Out there we had established alfalfa, so we just put it on top of the hay.
How much per acre?
We put 15 tons per acre. We're doing an indigenous burning study. We're finding all the reports of Indians burning, and we're writing a paper on that. That'll be done in a couple of years. We found many instances of the early pioneers, the early livestock men reporting the Indians burned the valleys and the mountains all the time. We did our big fire study up on the mountain. We found some big old ponderosa that were 600 years old. We recorded the fires they recorded. On average, they burned every 9.6 years of fire was in that system until 1876, and there hasn't been a fire since. And so we expanded the study. We were looking to find 100 trees in 3 years. This first year, we already found 67 trees, all fire scarred. So we'll probably have over 200 trees in 3 years, and we'll be able to write the whole fire history of the Cedar Mountain.
You can see a fire just from a core sample?
Yeah, we cut into the tree. The big ponderosas with the big thick bark, they're fireproof to ground fires. They burn up to the bark and they scar it, but they don't kill the tree. And so we cut into those, and then we can count how often
Just
the
cutting
fire.
into the bark, not into the,
We cut into the tree a little bit.
you're not coring clear to the center then?
No, but we core the trees to age them, and then we can write the whole fire history. But fire was a lot more prevalent on the mountain.
So do you see it in the rings then, or where do you?
Yeah, there's scars that burn into the rings,
Uh-huh.
and then we got to date the trees. We can tell the bad drought years, and we can count the rings. So
By
we
the
can
thicknesses,
use, we can even use stumps
Wow.
and date them. So anyway, we'll be able to write the whole fire study of Cedar Mountain in a couple of years. We're also planting trees. We planted aspen and ponderosa up on the mountain in areas where the trees have fell down, and we included biochar this year in that study. So we'll see how biochar affects tree survival. The Cedar Livestock and Heritage Festival was bigger and better than ever. They estimated 20,000 people attended, and it went really well. So we've had several livestock meetings and weed meetings. We had the Lincoln Day dinner. We had the Master Stockman meeting. We had the Utah-Arizona weed meeting. We had the Utah-Arizona Range Livestock Workshop. We had the crop school. We had the irrigation workshop, and we had the cattlemen's meeting. In addition to that, we've taken the 4th graders up on Cedar Mountain, and we also take them to Parowan Gap, and we take all the 7th graders out to Parowan Gap. We start at Rush Lake, go to Parowan Gap and the dinosaur tracks, and so they learn about the natural history. So that's what I have.
Kind of busy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Interesting to see how the fire data compares to Forest Service and BLM's.
Yeah, most of their trees are burned up. So we've collected trees off the Forest Service, but the best trees are on the private land because they were logged and grazed, and they didn't suffer crown fires, which killed trees. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Chad, can I
Thanks
get a
so much.
copy of your printed report?
sure.
Oh.
Turn the time back over to Joanna for just a moment.
Just had one more announcement to make so that everybody can save the date. We're going to do the sheriff's retirement party on December 14th. It'll be from 11 till 2 p.m. and it'll be at the Heritage Center.
Heritage.
So December 14th. And you can RSVP to sheriff.group@ironcounty.net. 11 to 2.
What day is that, Jonah?
It's Friday,
Friday?
December 14th. Heritage Center.
Is there anything we can do to help, or do you want to let us know?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep you in mind. They're doing really good getting everything together, but
Okay.
anything extra would be
It's nice.
just make it a good day. So,
Four, those times?
11 to 2.
11 to 2.
Yep. Sheriff.group@ironcounty.net.
Excellent.
Good. Everybody got it. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Well, that ends our department reports. We're running about half an hour late with technical difficulties. We have a problem if we just move right on. Let's move right into the 10 o'clock calendar with item number 1 being public comments. Thank you. Okay, seeing no public comments today, let's move right into agenda item number 2, requested by Dan. Justin, Iron County Auditor, requesting clarification of officer in charge pay for both standard officer in charge and OIC for field training approved for the 2019 budget.
So this is more of a housekeeping thing than anything. As part of the 2019 budget, there was approved basically a new program for officers that are doing FTO training. This would be the training officer. It was requested by the sheriff's office to have a 5% premium paid to that training officer. During that, it was and it was called OIC, which the acronym stands for Officer in Charge for Field Training. As we were getting ready to implement that, Carrie in my office, who does payroll, said this is going to be a little bit of a confusing mess because we already have an OIC code. And basically when that is ever used is if you have a regular officer acting as the officer in charge when they're normally not the officer in charge. So say you have somebody standing in for a sergeant because there's not a sergeant on duty, then they're currently getting a 6% spiff. Spiff is the wrong word. I'm sorry, I come from the private sector. But they're getting a 6% premium when they act in that regard, and this would be really confusing to have two codes that were both OIC codes, but that's something that's approved in the budget. It's not something I'm going to make an executive decision on. I would recommend we just have one OIC pay code rather than two that are just barely different from each other. It'll be confusing. People are going to look back on it and say, why the heck did they ever do that? That was really dumb.
Do we have is there an FTO code in there already?
No.
Can we just create an FTO code?
We could. Yeah, we could create an FTO code. This was presented as an OIC. Sheriff, is there a reason why this needs to be called OIC?
So does that still cover standard officer in charge? And aren't those two different things? OIC for field and for standard, or am I?
And that's, I guess, what I'm asked. So do we have, if we had an OIC code to cover the officer in charge issue, because the officer in charge and the FTO would be two separate things.
Right.
So if we had the OIC code to cover the officer in charge spiff and the FTO code to cover the FTO compensation, would that work?
And I think the reason why it was still designated as OIC was because it goes for the officer that's doing the training and not for the one that's being trained, right. And hence the officer in charge because he's the officer in charge of doing the training.
Yeah. In cop language, see, this is when we get into this vernacular, I'm your boy. Okay. You start talking about all these other acronyms, and it takes me a minute to catch up. But sorry,
I was going to combine them into one code, but we could keep them separate.
Because the officer in charge, the OIC and the FTO are two completely separate things.
Right.
It'd be good to have them separated because that way you have a better at the end of the year an accounting of how much you spend on training.
Right.
That way it's separated out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's part of the training cost is an OIC coverage.
Because the officer in charge is in charge of the shift.
Right.
The field training officer is in charge of his trainee.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the OIC and the FTO are really two different
Makes sense.
entities anyway, two different animals.
So it's really not OIC for FTO, it's just FTO?
Yeah, field training officer. So it'd just be a field training officer's, what'd you say,
Spiff.
Is there,
A spiff is referred to a commission that you get for selling something, so it's entirely the wrong word.
is there already an FTO differential?
Say again.
Do you already have an FTO differential in your
We don't
system?
have an FTO. We have an OIC, and it's at 6%. And then this was presented, and I said to Carrie, we're going to have an OIC code for 5%. And she goes, we already have an OIC code for 6%. This is going to be stupid. So hence the clarification. But if we had a FTO code, and we'd just call it FTO, and it would go for the officer that's doing the training, not the one being trained. And at
verifiable training hours they're actually training if they'll pick it up.
So that'd help with your accounting then on the back end.
Help kind of separate how much we're spending a year on training.
Okay, and just so you know that just to describe on the back end, she literally has to go through and create a full set of pay rates for every single officer because they're all paid different. And so then when that one applies, so it's quite a bit of work. This can be done. My biggest concern was the confusion between the two. You know, we like to have less bureaucracy. So, but that makes sense. We can do that. So whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it.
So what's your recommendation?
I could go either way. My recommendation was to consolidate them into one, but if it makes sense to separate them, that way we can see for reporting, then that makes sense too. I just don't want to have them be the same name, 1 percentage point apart.
Because they really are two different animals.
And
And they're probably not gonna. I mean, they may overlap. Well, and I guess, do you have supervisors FTOing?
Just on their evaluations towards the end of their, they'll do that. Their corporate, the field training sergeant.
So what happens if you have a true officer in charge scenario and they're doing FTO? Okay, because that wouldn't make any sense. I mean,
right?
Have to apply both differentials.
Because you can't, because you're actually just calling it a wage for that time. And
Right.
I'm not going to create a third code for when that scenario happens. That would be a nightmare.
And he was doing a little bit of evaluation. He would still get his 6%, and it would just be put down as.
It just gets 6.
Go for the higher one. And
It's not like you just add this and it adds an incremental amount. It has to go in the system and grab a different wage for that time frame. So
she has to set up a whole chart for each one of those.
yeah.
So the FTO thing, we approved that.
Yeah. So we're good. In fact, if we kind of leave it the same, I don't even need official action. I'll just name it FTO OIC, and we'll know that it applies in that scenario instead of
Okay, we have
the
different
OIC.
rates still.
There's 2 different rates. Yep. One's at 5%, the other's at 6%.
Why does that make sense?
I don't know where the 6% came from. That's always been there. This new one was presented at 5, which is what we budgeted for. So that is still a little bit confusing, but I don't. She's going to build the rate. She's going to build the thing once. So
Fair, though, even though it's a little confusing, officer in charge should probably get a little bit more than an FTO.
do you have a consensus?
Standardized at 5?
6% when there's an OIC in corrections or patrol.
But you'll apply 5% for FTO in either case.
So do we want to leave them at different percentages? Does it matter? Doesn't matter to me.
That's fine.
But it'd be a little easier to simplify it.
To simplify the counting, your office?
It doesn't. If she's going to set up another code, she's going to have to go through and calculate it all. So it won't simplify the accounting. It'll just be a little confusing to maybe the officers. In this scenario, they're getting 6%. In this scenario, they're getting 5.
Could she copy the code if the percentage was, or copy the percentages if the percent were the same?
She's still going to have to set one up for each person. So it would save her a tiny bit of time, but
I mean, it's just going to fall to the individual officer to make that notation on their time card, whether they're the officer in charge or whether they're the field training officer. But
I think they already are.
Okay, I'll do whatever you guys want me to do.
I'm okay to standardize at 5 if it makes sense. 1% ain't gonna make jack crap on somebody's pay for 2 or 3 hours a week. So I'd move to standardize at 5.
I think we ought to leave it how it is. I don't.
Those both were motions?
Well, I don't know. We're not on the.
Sounded like a motion for me, Mr. Hoff.
Well,
I say it sounded like a motion from you. I wrote it down as such.
it is.
Okay.
Hey, let it die. Let's move on.
Okay.
Hey, I move that we keep it at 6% for OIC and 5% for FTO.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
All opposed it.
Okay.
Okay, noted.
Adrian. We're on to personnel issues.
We have one new hire. Actually, just the filling of the victim advocate position, which is one of the grant-funded positions that was discussed. I think we're going on a couple months now that is going to work under the sheriff's office. We had hired the victim advocate grant specialist previously, and she's been working. This is the second position that's going to work more closely with the Cedar PD. So we worked closely with Chief Adams and their vetting process, which took a little bit longer, but we're to the point of asking for approval for new hire Elizabeth Soriano as the victim advocate, with her starting on December 3rd, 2018. And again, it's the second of the 2 grant-funded positions.
And does this have a soft to hard factor? Does this appointment end at the end of the grant?
It is written as such that it's if the funding is not renewed, then the position is ended.
Okay.
And we were careful to write it that way, advertise it that way, and again clarified that and as part of the orientation, so everybody is on the same page.
Let's do both at the same time.
Okay, and the second one is Chief Deputy Brian Hoffmeyer. He's just reaching his 6-month mark. He was brought in at a chief deputy wage that was less than what Chief Deputy Anger was making previously. This is now just bringing him up to that wage to standardize that position.
So this is in the assessor's
It's in the assessor's
department, not the
office.
sheriff.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And what's the amount?
The new amount is going to take him to an annual salary of $70,824, which is an increase over his current salary of $68,473.60.
Is that what percentage is that? Is it done by percentage, or what was the based on?
You know what, or Commissioner Adams, I don't remember exactly how we did that, if it was a percentage or it was.
It wasn't a percentage. It was a get up to parity.
But I think he's asking about the first how I came up with the 68, but honestly I don't remember how we came to that figure. It was just more of a, and there's been the correction since then in terms of I've been brought up to speed to where we are no longer doing that 6-month probationary period, is the way I understand it now, as part of some of these recent discussions regarding the chief deputy wages. So this was part of something that maybe I implemented that at the time may have not been correct, to be quite frank. So this is just bringing him up to where that chief deputy wage is supposed to be.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So the motion then is to approve the new hire Elizabeth Soriano as victim advocate effective December 3rd, 2018. The grant funded position is intended to not move from soft to hard at the end of the grant period. B is to approve the pay increase for Chief Deputy Brian Hoffmeyer, completing his probationary period, and moves his salary to $70,824 and something.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those are approved. Moves us on to non-delegated items. I know that we have some question about the courthouse and the EOC. I see Chad.
Lester
Did I see? I saw Lester.
Huddling around someplace.
Took the opportunity to grab him. Grab Reed, Chad Reed while we were there.
Thank you, sir.
Lester. Talk about the courthouse, whatever we have left besides the sign. Give us a little update on where we are in this building.
Only thing I have going on in this building is I got a hold of Mesa to do some warranty work. This week they're going to be redoing some of the plumbing on the main floor.
Why?
It keeps backing up, and when it backs up, it's impossible to snake out without draining the system by hand, which
The snake comes up and breaks the toilet on the other side.
honestly, I'm getting tired of sitting underneath it with a 5-gallon bucket catching sewage.
Get tired of that really quick.
Yeah, there's a section that on those center bathrooms that are back rated when we ran that camera that we purchased down, and so S&R Mechanical will be coming back sometime this week to correct that issue.
Is that PVC or cast?
It's all cast. This building's all cast. It had to be fire rated, I know.
Easily to crack then, isn't it?
Oh yeah. So then the landscaping is all done, as you can tell, and we have, I believe it's been paid.
Yeah. That came through.
Yeah.
What about the sign?
The sign, I was actually going to call them this morning. I had the chance to find out where the where Rainbow is on the actual sign portion of the sign. So
Do they install it once they
install it? Yeah.
make and install
They
it?
make and install it. So we've got the down payment on it, and so now we're just waiting for them to get it installed.
Are they going to come back and put caps on those?
Yeah, I'm wondering if they had to make them.
I spoke with the mason on that, and he said that the caps that they had were their incorrect ones. So
Yeah.
he was he had to wait until the correct ones were manufactured or shipped. I couldn't remember.
They
but
metal?
He was waiting on them.
Yeah, it's a cultured stone,
Cultured
is what it
stone.
is. So
What's the backing on the sign, Lester?
it's in a. It's not really stainless steel. It looks like stainless steel, but I think it's actually aluminum.
But is it mounted directly to the block? or
Yeah, it's
not?
mounted directly to the block. It's actually very similar to what the ones downstairs in the hallway are.
But it's not on any kind of a backing, a fiber board or a.
No, it's on a metal where it's exterior. So
Then did you resolve the fly issue?
no, I do need to talk with an exterminator. A couple of the ideas we've had, I don't know if we can do them inside. I have great things we use on the farm to get rid of the flies, but I don't know if I can use them on the inside of a building. So
Maybe.
I
Thank you
like
for
the
your
auditing
restraint.
department, especially because they got my paycheck, and I don't want to kill them. So
But the other people in the building is okay?
That'd
just
be a
don't-
wise thing.
yeah.
We are having them evaluate that too when they come back, Mason, the contractors, and see if they won't do something for us. But meanwhile,
Well, I don't see it as a Mesa issue. I just think they tried. They filled every nook and cranny they could see. So
what do you think now? Do you have any ideas?
I think we're pretty much going to have to look at something to discourage the flies. Because the only thing we could think of is they're sneaking up around the bricks still. So I've never seen this anywhere else.
We got too many dead bodies in this building.
Yeah, something on that end of the building. I don't know what Dan's doing in his office, but that seems to be the area.
Yeah.
So John, where are we on the tables and chairs and the additional items that we wanted to buy?
I will probably get those ordered this week and get some numbers to Dan.
And Cindy had some items too that you're working on, dispenser and table and some things.
Okay.
I will talk to Cindy. I didn't realize I was working on some items.
I think I didn't find you. I talked to Reed, and I think I asked Reed to coordinate. I thought he had with you.
So.
Anyway. So the other item is we had a request from Lori and the courts to do some improvements on the clerk chairs and some things. That's something we ought to go ahead and take care of. About it. Would you visit with her and see what?
Yeah.
She sent us an email. I don't think I can find it, but she wanted to upgrade the clerk chairs and several things probably.
So when do chairs come out of our specific budget and when do they come out of remodel budget or whatever? I bought chairs for my people at the DMV and Cedar and that had to come out of my budget, but the remodel here is coming out of the budget, so I don't know what Lori, I guess I just want some clarification so we know going forward.
Well, look and see what her budget, and you can tell that.
Yeah, because we normally don't.
Doesn't
We
even
normally don't.
Come out of maintenance budget after they're done. Not what it was, along with the building. It was a last minute. It wasn't figured in with the building. We just decided to do furniture kind of at the end. The building turned out so nice. So it's individual budgets from now on. If it's what's always been.
So there is still money in the remodel budget for this building, but anything outside is individual budgets?
No, we've added
It's
some money next year for some stuff in the building, and it's not coming out of the courthouse remodel.
Okay, because my understanding, talking to you, Commissioner, was that there was some money, and if we still needed stuff, we could get it. So if that's not the case.
That is the case. You're sitting right next to the banker.
But it's not coming out of the remodel, but it's.
Coming out of
remodel.
Maintenance for furniture.
We don't care if it's remodel or general fund. It's the same dollar and it's the same bank.
In this case, it is coming out of the same
We just want to.
starting point.
But the remodel's basically closed then, is what we're saying.
She just wanted to know, and the other departments wanted to know if they need to budget, or are they coming to our budget? Which we've never purchased furniture out of the maintenance.
Bottom line is we don't
But that's like for
furniture
the
out of maintenance budget.
building, that would be.
We never have, unless the commissioners change that.
But essentially, we want to finish the courthouse.
But I think Dan actually just answered the question, and that is, it.
It's money for the non-departmental for the general spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this building, but in individual offices from here on out, it's gonna be in their own budgets. Hence, and that's one of the things that we're gonna talk about today for, Lori had a request for stuff over in the, which isn't yet factored into anything.
So between you look at her budget, see what she can do. And I haven't looked at those chairs. I don't know how good, bad, or indifferent they are.
I haven't either.
About 4 decades old, I saw.
Hey,
They are very
you're pretty
old.
good. I like it when people change their chairs because then I can go get one.
Lester
So
gets the
Chad bought
hand-me-downs.
everybody else in the office a chair but me.
Thanks.
But which budget did it come out of?
Those ones actually did come out of the maintenance budget because that was for the maintenance workers.
I'm being facetious, sorry.
He doesn't think you ever sit down, so you don't need a chair, dude.
That's what I told him. I don't need an office. I'm fine with my truck and my.
Not the pavilion for out here.
Oh, yeah.
Did it get approved for my budget next year? That was what we were looking at for it.
Dan, do you remember, did we put the pavilion on the 19 budget?
The pavilion was one of the requests that was made in Chad's budgets, and rather than approving specific stuff, you guys said, here's a chunk of money and you decide. So the pavilion is within that.
That's correct.
There you
That's
go.
right.
At the moment.
And don't worry, I will buy the tables and chairs for the pavilion. I'll that one up.
So what did we pluck out of the air for pavilion? 15?
15 to 20,000, I think, is what I was. Remember,
I think I plucked down 15. Just it's not a very big.
it's not very big. It's just yeah,
Wood frame trusses, steel pole.
kind of an open truss type thing. So.
And then
Sounds good.
we need to decide on EOC. You said we owed Mesa some money on that.
Yeah, and I need to go. I've talked to them a couple times. They still haven't sent me a bill.
And you
so
think it's how much?
I'm not sure, honestly. With what they've charged us in the past, we're probably looking between 7 and 10,000, I would think. I could be wrong.
And then EOC budget, Dan, for capital.
Well, and I'm trying to get them to get me a bill this year so we can put it on this year's EOC budget, not
This
next
year
year.
we had 100,000.
We had 100,000 set aside, and I've used a little bit of it.
A little bit of that. Next year, we're thinking, yeah.
So Dan, why don't you email them, tell them a invoice dated in 2019 won't be honored. Simply.
We'll get them moving.
Well,
Yeah, because
I don't care if they don't, but
I don't know what Bill's waiting for on that. Because when I talked to him it was about 2 weeks ago. I talked to him and he said he'd get right on it. They were finishing up the last little bit of stuff, and
Thanksgiving came up on him.
yeah, Thanksgiving probably came
Holiday.
up, but
so then the follow-up conversation is that if you think it's about 10, we've got another 90 in there. What can we do?
I'm wondering if I can get it framed.
What about saw cut first?
Do both.
You can't frame until you.
I can frame most of it. I know the new emergency operational director is really pushing it in there.
Well, guess what?
Yeah. I'm actually wondering, I actually have my plans if you guys, I don't know if you've all seen the plans, but I have them here with me today. But to finish, because there's two different sides of this. I have the EOC, and then I had 3 offices that were slated for IT. To actually go finish the IT offices first and move him into there, because he would like to get out of the visitor center. And that actually has a whole lot less cost associated with those 3 offices than the rest of it.
Would that move IT out of the North Visitor Center building?
Eventually. That is part of it. And we just had that conversation across the hall.
We have how many jails offices left for IT? Are they still there?
Yeah, then they actually gave them some more to keep them there, which I don't blame you.
Illegal. We like
They're bribing IT.
good atmosphere, yeah. But I don't know what they decided. I never heard back. I had offered one more room.
But this moves them out of the jail and out of the visitor center.
Well, when this one is done when the area in the EOC, they'd move over into the EOC, so they would be right next to the jail.
Yeah.
So you'd have that immediate response that they need, but.
And then the final scheme works into a training center for whoever, EOC, for the sheriff, for the jail, for
Yeah, because you have the big room,
county.
and he
training
has
center.
2 offices. He has 2 offices in there, then the big conference room, and then plus a smaller conference room, and then some storage.
Yeah.
So we'll be IT'd up for any kind of program, any.
Moving the server from the building that your office is in to the basement or somewhere there?
There's actually nowhere to move it. I talked to them, and I actually put a kibosh to it because I have such specialty equipment to keep it cool that the cost involved in that is not feasible, and there's no other room, really.
Until we have a nursing mother that sues the county and says you have to have a nursing mother's room, we won't get a break room.
Okay, there's 3 break rooms for those areas. If you have a storage room, if you needed a nursing mother room in that particular office, that you could change into a break room.
So what break rooms are available?
The only break rooms, offices that have ones is attorneys, and the one we rent. And we talked to the Justice Court, but there became some legal issues on that one. Just not feasible, and in order for him to go outside and use a break room. The only option on a break room in that building is to do a remodel and add a break room.
Adrian, we ran into this in my office.
Because we don't have a break room.
In years past, with nursing mothers, and I don't think we was told it wasn't required to be a break room as long as we provided a room. So we could just say, hey, of course our guys are gone more than yours are, but they do have separate rooms there, and that worked out. Is that?
That's the way I've understood it. It's been a number of years since I've verified that, but that's the way I understood it as well, is that there just needed to be a access to a private room.
Yeah. And if that ever did happen, we would be more than willing to work with them for this short-term basis.
I just wish that we would be a little more proactive in giving our employees somewhere that they can go
Well,
for a break.
and I agree with you. I would like a break room. We don't have a break room, and it's an issue in our office. But
you guys at least have offices, you can shut your door.
But you're talking
have
about
the
the building with the most amount of people in it that is overloaded.
Right.
So I have no additional space.
I
I know you looked at the one office, and it was feasible, and I looked at it until I walked into the room. I thought it was a great idea until I walked in the room and realized I have air conditioners in that room to keep the room at 60 degrees. I have conduits coming up on each side of the room with all the different wires. That the cost associated with moving all the IT equipment, just was not feasible at that point in time.
I don't disagree, Cindy, with you, because I fought that issue when we was building the building, that we have the third best space, and you're having this courthouse with 2/3 more employees. So we do what we can to make it work, to give the best service to the public. I think we would like to be over here, it would be great.
Yeah. Our only option is to kick the state out of the building, which is kind of nice having people pay your bills while you're using the rest of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for looking at that.
And we actually did come up, we tried many different options, actually. We even looked at eliminating our copy room and changing some doors in there to make a small break room, and well, we ended up filling it with other stuff, so.
And when we move IT out of the North Visitor Center, hopefully we can accommodate extension better, and I guess that's
hopefully, I need to talk with IT. And we talked with Chad, and we have some ideas that I'm going to run by them, that we may be able to do that space immediately.
Good.
So
yeah, they've been short of space for so long. So thanks.
That
for
would give
the
the solution would be to essentially they would vacate one of the offices downstairs that they're currently using, that I could move IT into now, and then that would give extension all of upstairs and that north end. So they can, that would.
I'm glad he's willing to do that. 'Cause when I talked to him the other day, I said, "Well, can we just put part of your people down there?" And he wasn't too amenable to that, but I think that's what he needs to do.
When we talked with them, he would move. Pretty much everybody who's upstairs would move downstairs, and then the room I would actually like to take from him is his storage room. So it actually gives him a lot more space.
Good.
And he would retain the conference room upstairs.
They keep their
they gotta have that
upstairs, and then they're.
Let's go back to EOC for just a minute. We need to plan there and determine how soon that needs to happen. Lester indicated that if it's pertinent that he moves out of the visitor center immediately, we can maybe finish some offices out there so he can move out there. But how pertinent would that be to do that? Because you've been in construction, you guys know how hard that would be and how much more, add some cost to it to do that. So how pertinent is it that we do that quickly?
I think it's fairly pertinent. One of the reasons being with Maria's got a new graphic design. I don't remember exactly the title coming in, and needs that office space. That
When, Mike? Is there a date on?
well, it's approved for this upcoming budget. I assume she's going to start that hiring process at the first of the year here in a month, and so. It would, you know, Maria's got that additional person coming in that's going to need the space that emergency services is taking up now. I would think. I don't know.
That was my next question.
Yeah, because we could move him to Fiddlers, right? We could tell him to go to Fiddlers tomorrow.
We can move him in that little commission room that's in the visitor center too.
Yeah.
His actual need to move up in the EOC is not really high on.
The reason we
poll.
need to, and that was my next question, jumping again just a little bit on Fiddlers is that, so what are we doing with that?
Well, we're
Red tape, putting it up for sale, we need to calculate if we're going to.
We're leaning towards sale, but we could, where it's just one guy, if we need to, we could move him in there temporarily. But I guess if we're going forward immediately, we wouldn't want to do that. But
We do have a potential renter there, but the cost associated with that renter is there's a lot of upfront cost. They're willing to do it, or willing to move in, but then we also have to work on how we rent to a non-government agency.
yeah,
Right.
We don't want to be competing with the industry.
That's the biggest issue.
That's not something we ought to be in the business to do.
I'm
And if he
definitely.
wants $40,000 for us to remodel space for him, we certainly, whoever he is, we certainly don't need him that bad.
No. I'm certainly leaning towards selling. And right now, interest rates are starting to go up. I mean, everything's really hot. The economy's really hot, but interest rates are starting up. So really, I think we're in the best time to put that
If
thing
you're
on
gonna
the
sell it,
market.
now's the time to sell it.
Remember,
but-
the process for selling government property isn't necessarily just putting a for sale sign on it always either. I'll look into that, but that isn't always the case.
Well, first off, we need to decide whether or not.
Yeah.
Let's agenda item that for next meeting and decide to move on to it. Paul's got a question.
What would? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No.
If I could weigh in, I mean, I know in our last CIC-WCD board meeting, the district, Paul Monroe talked about wanting to buy that.
Sold.
And leasing it, leasing part of it Ensign Engineering, but from your Commissioner Brinkerhoff, I'm opposed to that because that would be another entity competing with private industry, and I don't agree with that either.
Yeah.
I had a problem with the school district buying that building and doing that to the public, and I disagree with this one.
No, I don't want to be involved in leasing county space to private enterprise.
What would be the what would be the actual logistics of getting emergency service into an office in Fiddlers? I mean, what would it?
It would take me walking to talk to Jared to get the wiring hooked up, and then we could move him into like John's old office over there, the clerk's office.
You want an air
Move over,
freshener.
and he can
'Cause
move over as
he
soon as he
doesn't-
can pack his stuff up.
Yeah, he doesn't need his. I mean, he doesn't need any new equipment. Just pack up what he's
That's what
got.
it is, and we activate the ports. We already have internet there. We have all that other stuff. That's no.
Yeah, because it might take 6 months to sell. And I mean, it's just one guy in one office. That's not a major.
They're already heated anyway. That's
Yeah, we're paying. We're paying the bill either way.
We
Yeah.
might want to put him downstairs though, just in case something does happen that they sold it, that Ensign did still want to move into there.
And we could do that. We could move him.
Upstairs is the most desirable to rent, so maybe for our own offices we ought to.
let's just decide the next meeting what the disposition is, period, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
We have it appraised, we know what the value is. We got some Main Street property that's vacant there. It should be a fairly desirable piece of property and we've added the parking space out back. So It ought to be and it's renovated up to speed with IT, heating, cooling. It's
Yeah, it needs some work, but you could easily someone could easily purchase it and put a little money into it and have a great building.
well, and it's not
Well, we
overly
were-
appraised either. It's
all there.
it's affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So.
appreciate you ladies' concern.
Help me out a little bit on the saw cut. Do we have stub outs coming out the old part of the building?
Or what?
Oh, I'm sorry, an EOC. How far do we have to cut back to pick up some stub outs?
We would just cut sideways until we hit the new walls. So we would just cut strips, and then they would just roll everything up in the new wall.
So what are we putting in the floor? Some
Um,
data and power and
Data and power, that's
sewer?
it. Yeah, it's just so when you're setting up in the emergency operation mode, you have the strips of operation tables that all your data would just drop down to the floor. That way you don't have all the wires dangling from the ceiling. And
But we won't put any culinary water out on the floor, nothing.
no, there's no water, none of that. All the water would drop from the ceiling. That's already plumbed in. We did that. I caught that back before the concrete floor was poured.
The restrooms are,
So there's one restroom back in there, and a little break area that's already all that.
but that's right along that north wall.
That drainage is already plumbed.
So mainly we're just saw cutting for data and power,
Data and power.
6 inch.
6 inches, and then you have a couple spots you go bigger. So, and I can get a hold of a saw cutting company, and
Have to do it at night or
I
weekend.
wasn't gonna say the name in the commission meeting.
Cut. Travis, what?
It's Travis. I don't know. He's on my cell phone under
It'll
Travis.
have
So.
to be evening or weekends for the noise for
Yeah.
AP and all those upstairs, but that's probably a one night shift to do that much.
Yeah, and they're actually his electric machines aren't terribly loud either. So
It's not the engine, it's
I know I've
bloody blade.
yeah, but they have the capability going with electric saw and do it with their electric saw. So
Anyway, we don't want them in there during business hours.
yeah,
That'd be pretty ugly.
we're getting pretty good at working at night. We're painting some hot stuff at the Justice Center. Like the DMV is going to get a beautiful facelift.
Okay, so just
See the color they picked out.
reminder then, Lester, remind us then, we have studs already stored.
We have studs. We have the drywall. I have a good chunk of the ceiling tile already.
But we don't have any grid.
We don't have any grid. Our biggest expense will be electrical, which electrical is always a big expense, and heating and air, because we have to get probably 2 or 3 units in. Flooring, and just
Paint.
then just your labor is.
We're gonna carpet it, or we're gonna just burnish it?
It will be mostly be carpet. We're gonna match everything of the rest of the building. So we'll carpet. Most of it will be carpeted except for your bathroom and your break area, which will do that flooring that's in the hallways now, and then that additional hallway that we have to build will be the same material as the rest of the hallway.
We're gonna provide standalone HVAC.
Yeah,
We're not
each unit already. The rest of the building's already done that way.
That's right. We're not tying into anything in the building.
No, like we'll have one unit that will run the 3 offices, IT offices, and then probably, judging by size, we'll probably end up with 2 units for the OC area. May just be 1, I'm not positive. I haven't seen what,
2 5-ton.
yeah.
So finally, then the electrical, we have to go how back?
There's actually a conduit already put in, put a sub panel, right there in that, the furnace room. The biggest issue we have is some of it actually has to go all the way back to the electrical room, because most of the stuff in the EOC we figured needs to run on the backup generator. So we have to get it back to the panel 2, which runs off that's the panel that the backup generator runs. Because we figure during an emergency, we probably need to be able to keep the EOC operational when there's no
Will be a
power.
Sizable expense. electrical will be.
Yeah. The nice thing is the conduits are there. Because I have the 2 conduits going to the roof, plus I have 2.5-inch conduits already going back to the electrical room, plus 4-inch conduit going back
The
to the
main
electrical
part of
room.
the room with lights, power, and data, all that crap.
Yeah, that stuff, it adds up quick.
So before we wrap this up, are we supposed to start working on getting the gentleman moved out of the Mystery Center over to the Fiddlers?
Are we gonna decide that next month at that commission meeting? We'll
I
decide
don't
what
know
to do
why
with Fiddlers.
I don't know why we're delaying that action.
I think, let me spit it out. I think we should get him moved out. Let's get him moved over there. And then, I mean, if we determine to sell the building, I mean, that's not going to happen overnight. We can address,
We'll put him someplace else.
we can slide him in somewhere else. But I think getting him out of the visitor center is, I think it's going to be best for the tourism folks and him, and
Just let him know up front it may be short term.
he may be playing musical offices for a minute, but
the rest of it's built.
Yeah.
But the rest of it's going to take 6 months to a year at least.
Right.
Let's have a follow-up, John, on the next meeting about you resolve the issue with Mesa on their outstanding balance.
Yeah.
And let's decide what the residue in that account is and decide how to move forward with.
Does that
Probably very first off with the saw cut.
does that need to
That
be a
done.
commission item, an agenda?
Fiddlers does. Yeah, I don't know if the others do. I just need
Possible
direction.
sale does.
That one I've
You
got.
should be able to get hold of Mesa.
Yeah, I'll
today,
get a hold of me.
hopefully, and have that
Honestly,
one
those were my
resolved.
plans to do this morning until I got called to come
Yeah.
here. So,
Tell Bill if he wants some money, I better have it.
tell Bill that, you know,
date
come on.
on it.
I've never had such trouble getting people to pay
Yeah,
me a bill.
just send it.
Most people are more than willing to send me a bill. Yes, I'll call them again.
Oh, we're dropping $100 a day off of it till.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
thank you.
gentlemen.
Are you around this afternoon?
I can be.
I'll just call you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other items? Any?
On boards, how's the website? Advertising for people that are interested in being.
I
on
asked
board.
Dave to give me a report, and I haven't heard back from him. I'll send you guys an email today.
'Cause we've got numerous people we're going to have to replace on
Yeah.
the Water Conservancy coming up quickly. In fact, it's already here in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chad,
That's all I had.
Sheriff, is there anything specifically, we don't need to talk about it now, but there's specific needs that
See him very often.
Sheriff's office would need for training in that facility that we aren't already planning for? It'd be smart room, whiteboard, pull down screens, normal.
I don't know if you plan on having
Tabled. Tabled chairs, that's all.
Yeah, you got to have tables for a training room.
Okay. We'll adjourn
Wait a minute.
or not.
Go ahead.
No. Oh yeah.
Let me talk about it. So you've checked off DOC and the sign. I have to be in.
Did we adjourn or did we not?
Oh, no,
Oh, we're not
Dale's
quite.
got a
We're
couple.
not
Okay.
quite adjourned yet.
Okay.
Close.
I have a meeting in Washington on the same time with Canara meeting next Tuesday. So I won't be there. Always scheduled with Canara next Tuesday.
Oh, the evaluation as to where we are.
Is that the 4th? I've actually got to be in Salt Lake that day.
DC or Washington County, Dale?
Oh, not DC. Holy crap, no.
Okay, so Tuesday. Okay, I can be there. There's a Zinke conference call at 10. Is that meeting going to be at 11? The Canaryville Falls.
That was at 1.
I hope it is. If it is, it'll make it easier for me. But I've just got tentative written here. I'll find out. I can be there.
I've got Indigent Defense trust fund board in Salt Lake that day.
Okay. Sounds like that's my baby. If you have any input, let me know.
I'd rather, well, the only thing I'll do is wrap up and decide how to get the county.
Yeah, they seem, yeah, so. All righty.
Dan. Chad, maybe you better stick around just a second with Dan.
Or
Dan.
Technically, yes.
Chad. Let's just decide on what we're doing about those bloody trucks. Transmissions and they were still haggling over
Oh, I thought we decided.
where we,
Yeah.
I believe decided, you were the only one that wasn't involved.
Oh.
I talked to both Dale and Omar.
Yeah.
The gray one?
my position is.
Yeah, I was in agreement with that.
yeah, that's, I thought I emailed back, but I guess I didn't. But yeah,
Well, we're gonna see Chad on
Chad.
Chad.
But thank you for those thoughts that you knew fully.
We're talking about trucks. I thought we have 7. If we fix it, do you want that one back then?
I think it's got a whole lot less miles on it.
Let's do adjourn. Are you done with, let's do adjourn now. You done with everything on the agenda? Okay.
now we adjourn.
Minus 5 minutes back.
So, just mention that Ford transmission lasts 200,000. You needed to-
Exactly.